Hello, everybody. Dan Rather, late in the afternoon of this final day of voting. I've made myself a few notes of things that you might want to consider if you haven't already, and there are no particular order. Going to be a lot of talk in the early hours, I would say in the late afternoon, early evening hours, before we have very many, if any, real votes counted. There's going to be a lot of talk about exit polling. Exit polling is something that the networks do. They talk to people as they come out of the polling booths. Now, you want to remember that exit polling is happening, but remember the mass majority have already voted. Over 100 million people have already voted. We may get as many as 170 million people voting. We'll see what they turn out during the day, this actual day turns out to be. But about the exit polls, you want to be very careful. Everybody's looking for some information. I understand that. And this was the case when I used to anchor on election nights. Everybody's eager to know what the exit polls say. But keep in mind that the exit polls, particularly the early exit polls taken earlier in the day, are not really indicative of a whole lot, although much is made of them. And also keep in mind, as I say, in this particular instance, the exit poll people have a smaller sample because so many people have already voted. So listen and watch, if you will, the exit polling, but don't attach too much significance to them, particularly too early. Now, the Texas vote is through the roof. There's never been anything like this in any Texas election. And what that means, we cannot know. But what it may mean, mark the word, what it may mean is that Texas may deliver some surprises. Trump is clearly favored to take Texas electoral votes. If you have to bet it, that's still the way you bet it. However, with so many people voting even before this vote day, and a lot of people voting today, who knows? Texas might turn out to be a surprise. I'm not predicting that will happen, but it's one of, I will say, two states that you want to watch for possible surprises. Texas is one, Georgia is the other. Now, there are lots of places report that operations are running very smoothly. Everybody has their mind on, well, are things going to work smoothly during this election day? Overall, overwhelmingly, things have worked smoothly, including in Georgia, by the way. Georgia has a reputation of having very tough vote days, but things seem to be running very smoothly in most places in the country. Yes, there is concern, and in my personal opinion, legitimate concern of whether all the votes will actually get counted, and whether they'll be counted correctly is always another question. Given the nature of this particular election and the fact that there were so many votes cast before today, that's an open question. We may not know the answer to it for quite a long time. Now, the federal judge in Washington has ordered the Postal Service to, quote, sweep mail centers to get in, particularly in key states, to make sure that the no votes are left behind. There was a lot of concern about that. And again, I think legitimate concern, but the federal judge has stepped in and he said, I want everything to be done that can be done to get those votes that are in post offices out and counted. Could be important, particularly if it turns out to be a close race. Among the interesting headlines I've seen today, maybe the most interesting I've seen, historic surge of interest in White House race. Well, that's the least surprising headline of the day. Folks, I've said this before, let me say this again to you. It figures to be an exciting night and an anxiety-filled night. But keep in mind the old reporters' reminders to themselves, particularly on vote day and what we used to call election night. On election night, if you will, the first things you hear are frequently either a little off or just flat wrong. So keep that in mind as you hear the reports coming in. All the networks will be doing the best they possibly can. But among the first things you hear, some of them will be at least misleading and some of them will turn out to be absolutely wrong. So that's it for right now. We'll be back in touch with you from time to time as the early evening and the evening develops. In the meantime, good luck, Godspeed.